my sexual relationship with your computer has nothing to do with love. Okay, so
purely mercenary transaction.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to Word Funk. I'm Leon Thomas. With me is Austin Yorsky and Johnny Maloney. We were talking about important things before we started recording today, the Supreme Court, what Canada Day really means. But we're not going to talk about any of that because you don't want to hear it. You want to hear us talking about fucking a computer. And that's what we are going to talk about. And I'm not even kidding. We're going to talk about sex with a computer because apparently you can do that now, kind of. Not in the Lawnmower Man kind of way, which would be amazing. Not even in the Lawnmower Man 2 kind of way. You're actually we're just going to jump right into this. I refuse to
No foreplay?
No.
Come on.
I'm not going to dance around this. I'm just going to talk about the fact that there is now a physical application that you can put on your iPad that lets you rest your fleshlight in it for sex making. Now, I feel like I should explain fleshlight for the few people who don't know what that is. It's basically a masturbation tool that looks like either a mouth or a vagina or a butt, and there might be more. There might be more holes. I don't know. But the point is, you can get them. And for masturbating, I guess it makes it easier. But everyone, apparently, with the rise of technology, everyone wants it to be a little more. I don't want to say exotic, but futuristic. And now you can do that because there is an attachment for an iPad where you can put your fleshlight. So I'm guessing the idea is that you put on porn and you grip onto the iPad, and then you have sex with the hole. But here a couple things that is kind of wrong with this. First, porn normally is you're watching like two people or more have sex like in a screen. You're usually not in the point of view of the person on top of or under someone normally. So I'm not sure that having the screen and the thing would work. And frankly, even if it were, like you would see the head and the neck of someone on the screen. I'm not even being gross. I'm talking about the logistics. Hold on. Let me finish this. This is something that just popped into my head. If you see like the head and neck of the person you want to have sex with, and you have like the vagina-shaped fleshlight in the screen, then the vagina-shaped fleshlight in the screen is an inch lower than the face. So it doesn't even seem, and if it's longer, like you can see the head, chest, and then the screen cuts away right, before, the area there, between legs, then it's not.
You trying to dance around the terminology is fucking hilarious to me.
Then if you just see the head, the neck, the torso, and right before the vagina, and then you have the vagina fleshlight right there, then it's not to scale, because think of how small the screen is and how much it would have to the length. So that
are you insinuating the possibility that there might be a good deal of disorientation,
yes,
vertigo, and or nausea that this whole thing causes?
I feel like it's fascinating in a now we have this kind of way, I believe in the progression of a species and the technological aspect of that, but it just doesn't seem like anything's going to be to scale or some sort of replacement. I feel like maybe I'm giving this too much thought. That's entirely possible. But it feels like there are some kinks to work out. And the other thing I wanted to say. This doesn't work for women. This is only for insertion stuff. So there's nothing to there's no way for a woman to use this application. So it's sexist, which is another thing. Maybe there is. Maybe there's some other way. You could, you know what? I'm not even going to go into that. I just had a thought, but it's It's too vulgar even for this conversation. So, guys, what do you think about this? Why are we talking about it? And also, what do you think about this?
This sounds like left field, but we actually talked about a similar idea on the BT podcast. I don't think you were on that. I think that was the week we had Chris on. It was like a PlayStation Move controller that was like had a modified attachment for a similar purpose with like Japanese porn games.
And then later we also talked about it when I think it was Bone Town was the guys who made Bone Town are going to make an Oculus Rift styled.
Yeah, so this is actually like an entire field of consumer electronics. I mean, me and Johnny were joking whether it's called teledildonics or cyberdildonics earlier. It's an actual thing that people are paying money to research right now, how to best bang computers.
Like it's okay to be called teledildonics if it's two people involved that are like across distances. But if it's just you fucking a computer, it's cyberdildonics. Is that so hard to understand?
Apparently the term was coined in 1975, so...
Because people have been wanting to bone computers for 40 years now.
Johnny apparently doesn't want to bone math, so don't worry about that.
No, I want to bone math. I call that calculodildonics.
So we have this now. I didn't even think about the idea. Until you mentioned it. I didn't even think about the idea that it could be used for basically the internet version of phone sex, where you could like Skype someone.
They already have internet connected sex toys. They do. I think there was a Kickstarter for one.
I think this particular news story is relevant because it has an iPad like adapter. It's not
okay. No. I'm gonna bring my expertise here.
Oh shit.
All right. Now the thing is that this particular thing that we're talking about, this adapter is really just an iPad case.
Yeah.
So that gentlemen, and I'm using that term loosely, can watch porn on their iPads while jerking off into basically a fleshlight that's attached to it.
Yeah, it's that part of it is the story, not necessarily the having sex with the computers part, which we've been trying to do since we invented computers. That was like our second thought.
So that's what that is. But there are actually things that, and we're talking like years old now, that do actually work over the internet. Basically, I think there was a Kickstarter. I'm just gonna do some looking up here.
Johnny's let me look through my bookmarks.
Yeah, just every bit of information that passes my way. It's called Love Pals. And I'm gonna
because of course it is.
I'm gonna link you guys right there.
Hopefully there are some images we can use for the title card that are safe for work.
So actually, you know what? It's really funny because the Zeus and Hera, they are called, look really unassuming. They just they look like two tubes.
Oh. What?
And they just connect internet style, and one is a dildo and one is a flashlight.
Yeah, absolutely, basically.
Yep.
So that exists. That exists entirely. Now but the thing is, what I honestly want to know is, like, why this iPad case is news when we've had the Real Touch for ages.
What's that now?
The Real Touch is the most gruesome-looking sex device I've ever seen in my entire life.
I can't show any of these for the image, like, at all. I don't even know if I'm allowed to put this episode on Channel Awesome now. Oh!
Johnny just sent us a link. It looks like the Mangler from Stephen King's The Meg.
Wait, does that even go in there?
Yeah, okay, the first image is it disassembled.
Oh, good. Jeez.
Yeah, you put it together, and yeah, you can...
Oh, God.
Yep. Oh, yeah.
has hair.
Oh man, I just got a really nostalgic BT podcast feeling about this conversation. It's good, guys. We're back.
See, but this is the funny thing. Like, honestly speaking here, this is the funny thing about the Real Touch. The Real Touch is a USB-enabled device, and it's not designed so that you can, like, talk to people over the internet. It's actually designed to be interactive porn. Believe it or not, that you can actually, like they've designed it so that you can write, like, programs that correspond to porn movies that people shoot. So that there's no manual manipulation at all on this thing. You just, you stick your junk in it and you leave it there. The fucking, conveyor belts?
Yeah, I know. That's the thing that's scary.
They do all the work.
Oh, man.
I don't trust it. First of all, can I just say something about what I'm looking at here? First, are people just shooting guns outside my window? Oh well, yeah. I can't go over to investigate the possible death of my neighbors. I'm too busy talking about rolling sex devices. Oh no, the thing that's scary about this, not just that the rollers there that just look like
tank treads,
that looks like hair curlers. It's the fact that this looks like a really hard plastic. Whereas when I think of sex toys, I think of something that's soft.
Oh my god! I'm sorry. I quickly need to do this. They do have a female version.
Oh, okay. Maybe that one I can show on the as the banner. Maybe it won't look so No, I can't show that at all. Oh my god! Why would you even show that to me?
Because of education.
It's not even covered up. I can see the top part.
Oh, Leon, your indignation is just fabulous. This actually reminds me, on Colbert a couple of weeks ago, he talked about there's a story, some poll said most Americans wouldn't have sex with robots if that was an option, and like the joke was that everyone was lying because they were, embarrassed or whatever. Do you think that's going to be like a civil rights issue soon? Or are we going to have to get consent from our robo toys when they get sentience?
Once they gain sentience, I feel like you should ask.
As soon as they are capable of saying no, that's when we need to start ordering. Okay.
Yeah, I mean,
I'm just because this is clearly not a thing that's going away. It's only going to get more advanced.
No, you're right. I just don't know if we're if we are going to have AI, is that the first thing that's going to? Well, yes, it is.
We're going to bang it immediately. That's. We had this conversation before. Technology is only good for two things: killing people and having sex. That's all we invent things for. Sorry, Leon.
There might be something to that. All right. Well, anything else we want to say about metal sex and plastic sex and stuff before? I mean, is it so hard to just masturbate? First of all, let me answer that. No, it's not. Oh my god, it's so easy. Overhand, underhand, or softballing, as I call it, because that's how you pitch. Did I just invent that? No, never mind. The point is, I don't want to talk about this anymore, and Austin has something he wants to say about video games. So we're going to abruptly and without any segue switch to that.
That's not fair using me as a transition.
No, I'm sorry, it's not, but
You deserve it, Austin.
Do I?
How dare you take this completely clean talk about cyber sex and turn it into something filthy?
Yeah, Austin.
Now it's just all on my shoulders now. Anyway, I guess we're going to talk about video games now. Do you guys remember when we talked about a game called Warface?
It only had the warriest of face I've ever seen.
I don't recall, but all I want to do is play Warface right now.
We talked about it, and we made fun of it, and we said basically it was going to fail, and it did. And the company that developed it, Crytek, well, I have a lot of things to say about Crytek, but let's start with the fact that it came out like a week or so ago that they're in serious financial difficulty. They're not paying their employees, although the CEO is still coming to work in his Ferrari and not giving a fuck because Siva Yurley is just kind of a dick. We'll get to that, though. Do you guys, I mean, Johnny, you play Crytek games. Are you surprised?
No. Not because of the quality of the games that they've made in the past, but because of the prevailing attitude that Mr. Sivat Yurley has maintained in the press sphere. I mean, well, Austin, you and I have talked about this at great length, where he's like, he just comes out one day, he's like, fuck it, all we're making is free-to-play games.
Yep. Well, that's the two of his big comments. One is all games are going to be free to play in the future. That's happening. That's what we're doing from now on. And then it just immediately started failing. The other thing was when he said graphics are 70% of a game. He just threw out a percentage. He's just like, that's how it is. Every game is judged by its graphics this percent.
He did that.
And it's like, yes, that's what he said. And I was like, well, I guess I'm just going to uninstall Zork now. That's not a video game anymore. Like, what? He just has this knack for just making sweeping generalizations and then failing, and it's not okay for anybody to lose their jobs or, not get paid.
Not get paid.
Which is what's happening. That's unfortunate, but it is nice to see when someone does bullshit like that there is real, ramifications of these decisions, of these philosophies. That's, that feels good to be proven right, because by that time, Crytek jumped on the free-to-play bandwagon, and it was already gone. Everyone's way ahead of them, and it's not even to their strengths. Crytek is known for CryEngine. It's their technology is what put them on the map. They're not they don't have that pedigree. They don't have that experience. They're not a free-to-play company. And switching gears like that, if you read the interviews that Jason Schreier at Kotaku got with the anonymous employees, they were like, we don't know how to do any of this. This is all super frustrating for us. It's not our strengths. And the fact that companies like EA, companies like Activision just immediately abandon what they do at the drop of a hat when something else gets popular is it was bound to turn out like this, wasn't it?
More or less. Yeah, I agree with you insofar as that it's not nice to be able to be like, you guys are failing, because people are losing their jobs and people are not getting paid. But at the same time, you just kind of want to be like, why didn't you listen? There was nobody that heard your interview or read your interview where you said, like, everything's going free to play, that said, absolutely, yes, completely. This man has his pulse has his finger on the pulse of the future.
I mean, there's no harm in incorporating free to play into your strategy going forward, but acting like that is everything needs to be that in perpetuity forever is like a comical lack of foresight, right?
Well, for one thing, video games, and just about, any entertainment medium is going to change all the time. It's not like, if free-to-play games are getting popular now, that doesn't mean they're going to be popular forever. In the same way that arcade games were popular once, and then they're not, and then this happened, and then that happened, and, this landscape of video games changes constantly in the same way that technology constantly changes and upgrades, so video games constantly change and upgrade. So, that's kind of silly. Oh, and by the way, video games, here's the real percentages. Video games are actually 60% the game you get at launch and 40% DLC. That is the only percentage that there is.
Yeah, maybe when they were under contract with EA for Crysis, that was more the case. But, Warface, we joked about that, flopped. Apparently, according to the article, everywhere but Russia. So I don't know what Russia saw in it, but I guess they like Warface.
It's big in Russia. It's great. It's like one of those bands that's only really popular in, 2 countries, so they always tour there.
Yeah. What else? Oh, yeah.
We have to ask the question, though, are all the other free-to-play games that are on the market, do they go to Russia? Does Battlefield go to Russia? Because I know the Battlefield has some free-to-play spin-offs.
Yeah,
we would like to think so, right? But, there are some weird rules in terms of what currency changes hands online.
Yeah, I think a lot of those they get like regional versions of games, right? Like the Chinese or Russian Battlefield is different than the American Battlefield, is my understanding. For a lot of titles, not necessarily all of them. Like, Germany and Australia usually get like butchered versions for like violence reasons.
Yeah,
But
all I'm trying to say is that, like, it's big in Russia. Is that because it hit something in the Russian, like, mind? Or was it, like, honestly, they didn't really have much else to play?
Yeah, I imagine it's a different ecosystem entirely. Maybe it stood out more there than it has over here, where it looks like every other free-to-play war game, every brown shooter. But yeah, that's another thing. They made that Rise game, that Xbox One exclusive, and they were going to make a sequel, but apparently that's been canceled because the first one wasn't good and didn't sell particularly well. I don't know if they're making another Crysis. Probably not. I mean, who developed?
As I understand it, Austin, it wasn't that it wasn't good and it didn't sell well, but it was that there were some debates between Microsoft and Crytek as to who owned Rise.
Is that really up for debate? I feel like that should have been spelled out in the contracts.
Well, you would think so, but I mean, people fight contracts for a lot of really petty reasons when it means that there are possibly like
money to be made.
Yeah, absolutely.
Also, Rise went through like development hell. Remember, it was originally a 360 game that was Kinect only. And then it became an Xbox One game with Kinect features, and then eventually with minimal Xbox Kinect features. So that I'm sure that they just want to recoup some of that, if at all possible.
Yeah.
So that's the thing, though. I mean, you guys, neither of you are like super big fans of Crytek, and I don't think, and neither am I. So I don't know how much like personally you feel about the story. I just think it's illustrative of these consequences finally coming around for these companies who've been doing things like this, not necessarily abusive practices, but at least naive in the idea that they can just change gears at a moment's notice and completely abandon their strengths, because Crytek was about, high definition PC gaming. They were the benchmark, Do you guys remember whether or not your computer could play Crysis was like the thing you said to people at school? You're like, shit, can you play Crysis?
Yeah. That's all I'll you about.
I was out of school by then, Austin. I'm really sorry. And just for the record, yes, it could.
Well, that was a thing for me. I guess you guys are older than me and you didn't have that experience. But it was a thing for a while, so it's just strange to me that it ended up like this. But, I mean, they're not dead yet, but...
I know it was a thing, and that's why, again, I'm saying, for the record, yes, it could.
Johnny, I think your computer is probably worth more than my entire apartment.
I don't know about that.
Your graphics card alone, you have a Titan, right?
Yeah.
You're a madman.
I don't know what any of this stuff is.
Sorry, Leon. We'll talk about something more your speed. How far are you in Tales of whatever?
Tales of Grace's F. I'm past the halfway point, and I know because I got that big halfway point. This is clearly the halfway point in the game anime cinematic.
Yep.
Awesome. So good. Sophie has apparently figured out what's what. That she is the Sophie that is the one we saw before. I mean, I assumed that because she had the same stats. But because I leveled her up.
Ludonarrative integration. Yeah, that's what that is.
But no, it's been revealed. That happened about an hour ago, gameplay wise. I played about half an hour today, and now I'm done for the day because that's how I do. And I will continue to play until I am done, and then I will play those God of War games, and then I'll play Tales of Xillia. I have one question. I guess I could just Google it, but I'm going to ask you anyway. That new game coming out, Bloodborne, is that for only the next generation consoles, the PS4s and such?
It's exclusive to the PlayStation 4.
Crap. All right. Well, I still have. I finished Demon's Souls, so I want to play Dark Souls and Dark Souls 2 before I play that. But I want some hard games. Is what I'm trying to say. Mm-hmm. So that interests me. I guess once I'm done this, I will get a PlayStation 4 for that game and a few others. So, yeah.
Leon.
Yeah, I'm behind. I'm always behind. I don't feel like buying new things when I still can play with my old things. That's my economics of things.
Also, his masturbatory policy.
Dang,
Why new things? Why? The old. Never mind.
I know.
Anything more we want to say about the video games in terms of this, or are we moving on?
I just real quick, did you guys find anything interesting this week? Because I had a thing I wanted to talk about just for a minute.
I played Wii Play with my wife. We played ping pong and stuff, but that's really all I'm saying about that. You know what ping pong is? Like, I don't have to explain it on a show.
We're gonna get like 2 angry comments. Like, I have no idea what ping pong is. So elitist.
Yeah, I won sometimes and lost other times, and that is the story of ping pong.
I got a couple of things that I tried on the tail end of the Steam sale.
I didn't buy a single thing during the Steam sale. I'm pretty proud of myself.
Good for you, Austin. Good for you. You obviously didn't cry yourself to sleep last week like I did.
Well, I mean, for other reasons, but yes. What? No, I'm sorry. Go on.
No, I mean, I picked up a couple of things, mostly smaller titles that I'd just kind of been waiting to like come to a more equitable price, I guess. But then I lost my shit one day, and I picked up Wolfenstein at half off and Watch Dogs at like 20% off. But so I played a little Watch Dogs. I got the Banner Saga. I played a little bit of that. Transistor, I played not that much of, just a little. So I played a few things, you know.
What's Banner Saga?
It's Fire Emblem with Vikings.
Oh.
But it's nowhere near as epic as, like, Candy Crush Saga.
Okay.
For anyone who didn't get that joke, they tried to sue the Banner Saga people because they had Saga in the name.
They invented sagas.
That's not even a joke. Literally, they tried to sue them because Candy Crush Saga and Banner Saga have Saga in the name, and they would really hate it if somebody decided to buy Banner Saga on Steam because they think that it might be Candy Crush Saga.
Yeah.
Like, dead serious.
Copyright is bullshit sometimes.
Yeah.
I completely lost what I was going to talk about. Oh.
Did you play games? We're going through our gaming stuff.
I did. Leon, I wanted to talk to you about Suda51, because you play his games, right?
Usually, yeah.
I'm playing No More Heroes 2 for the first time. I played the first one a while ago, but I'm playing the second one.
All right.
And it's better, but I'm starting to think maybe none of Suda51's games were that good the whole time.
What?
Like maybe because they were really novel when I played them, but now I'm thinking back and it's like he's never really made a game that was fun. Like they're just cool. They're not fun.
They're both. God, they're cool and fun. Wow, first Mega Man and now Super 51. Are you?
I like
the only things I love in video games.
I'm sorry.
No, I'll defend Suda 51's games. First of all, in addition to just being inventive and weird and different from the run-of-the-mill games that you'll find at your GameStops, these games are just pure joy. I will never stop. There was this moment, and it was like one of the greatest I've ever experienced in a video game when I was playing No More Heroes, the first one. When the first time I swung my Wii remote and cut off someone's head, and both blood and money came out of his head, and I collected the money and watched the blood, I thought that this was like one of the greatest things I've ever seen. And it was. And that is why I thought that. And then and again, I brings this back to masturbation. Then jerking off the Wii remote to recharge my lightsaber was both uncomfortable and so great. And then getting a phone call on the Wii remote and having to put it up to my ear, that level of immersion, and all of this happened within like 5 minutes of each other.
Yeah, it's the first level.
Yeah, this is the first level when all of these amazing, bizarre, and immersive things happen in this game. that sort of, it's like the game is not, I mean, it's talking to me in the sense that I put my thing up to my ear and a sexy girl is talking to me. But it's like the game is talking to me and also kind of mocking me in a way, like, haha, you're jerking off a thing. I made you do this. You have to do this in order to advance. I am Suda51. I'm making you do this. Don't let anyone watch you play this game. Don't let anyone have a camera with you while they watch you play this game. And that's what's amazing about it. It forced me into very odd but amusing situations. I don't think the second one is better. I think the second one is more of the same but still really good. It's the next one. I think Shadows of the Damned is incredibly fun.
That's the most competent his game's ever been in terms of design, because they had the, God, what's his name? I want to say Shinji Mikami worked on Shadows of the Damned, so that's why that game is, like, competent. That's the Resident Evil guy.
You don't play Suda51 games for, like, I guess what's the word? Super competent gameplay where everything is just gels so perfectly. You play it because it's just an amazing, fun experience that you can talk to people about.
I won't argue with you that they're very novel experiences. I mean, Killer 7 was unlike anything.
Yeah.
When that was like mind blowing, but it wasn't fun.
I will say this: I did not have fun playing Killer 7. I thought it was interesting and it made me think, but I didn't have fun playing it. I had fun playing all the others, including Lollipop Chainsaw, which of the fun experiences was least fun.
I like Lollipop Chainsaw for the boss fights and the music. He makes really interesting encounters and set pieces and jokes and stuff. But like it's mostly just all the filler. It's all the mooks, you know, the goons between the boss fights that it just grates on me. It's so grinding to have to slice 1,000 people's heads off before I get to the next boss fight in No More Heroes and Lollipop Chainsaw and Killer's Dead. I feel like those games, they should just be like boss rushes with jokes.
Okay, fair enough. But I do get a genuine fun out of those games. And I didn't bother playing his latest one. Apparently, it was just critically derided. And as much as I like Suda51, I'm never a devotee of anyone so much that I have to see or play everything they ever do. If I know I'm not going to like it, I'm not that much of a completionist. But looking forward to what else he puts out, I guess.
Well, yeah, he has the exclusive PlayStation 4 game Let It Die, which looks shitty, and it is actually basically the salvaged version of a much more promising game they were making before that they scrapped. So I'm not super excited about it, and I'm just kind of feeling down on the Suda thing. I feel like I was a big proponent of it early on when it was weird and new and fresh, but comparing like the genuine strangeness of Killer 7 to like the lol so random weirdness of Killer is Dead, and I'm just like, I think maybe this has run its course.
Well, I haven't played Killer is Dead. I will give him a pass for having one really shitty experience. Even though I've never played it, I've heard that pretty much everyone dislikes it. And then try his next one. Or at least check out what people say about it.
Okie dokie. I think that about covers it. Do you want to move on? Is there another topic you wanted to talk about?
Yeah, there is. I promised last week that we would do it this week, so we will, even though we don't have that much time. Well, I'll just push it. Here's the thing about IMDb, the Internet movie database. Two things I really like about it. First, it's just has tons and tons of information immediately at your fingertips, just like, you know, the Internet in general. This is sort of a smaller version of just it's a condensed version of everything you want to know about movies. And that's nice. Another thing I like about it is that it's top 500, 250, 300, whatever list of greatest movies of all time. It's very democratically chosen. It's not, you know, every once in a while, there's like this thing, like every year there's like, ooh, the AFI Critics Council has decided there's a new greatest movie ever. It's Tokyo Story. And I'm like, cool. I haven't seen it yet. I probably will one day because I hear it's good. But I don't know how we all decided that. And then sometime there's like, oh, the Critics Association of such and such have decided that actually after a long time their list was Citizen Kane, but now it's Vertigo. And like, cool. Well, I like both those movies, so that's nice. Not sure what the criteria was, but neat. But I sort of just shrug and just move on with it. The good thing about the IMDb top movies ever list is that we all decide. We all just sort of decide collectively what the greatest movie is at number 1 and number 2 and so forth until we run out of numbers. And that's neat in the sense of that it's democratic, that we don't like, have like a council of elders in cloaks and they sit down and says, yes, but the camera work in Citizen Kane was much better than this one, and that's how we somehow decide what the greatest movie ever is. Problem with that? A lot of people are dumb. And I'm not, here's what I think. I always, one movie quote I always kind of liked, even though I don't like the movie very much, is from Men in Black, where Tommy Lee Jones as K is having a conversation with Will Smith as Jay. And Jay says, people are smart. And K says, no, a person is smart. People are stupid. And sometimes that makes sense to me, because you can sit down with a person and have a conversation with someone like in a really intelligent way, and just about anyone, and because most people are at least of average intelligence, people are smart. But a person is smart, that is, but people just in general, when you can't really talk to them, and it's just sort of a mass of opinions without a real conversation, much like a comment section, is just very, very stupid. And sometimes you get things on this list that just don't make any sense. And there's a weird bias towards newer movies somehow. Like, I believe The Dark Knight. I really would just want to talk about one movie specifically, but I'm going to load it up here real quick. I really want to talk about Shawshank Redemption, but I am going to look up something real quick here.
While you're doing that, Leon, I just want to say on that Men in Black quote, I think the dissonance there is that every person is smart about something or some things,
yeah,
but people don't have any necessarily general specialization. So a person might be smart in like math or science or literature or something, but when you ask everybody what their favorite movie is, not all of those people are movie buffs. Not all of them have seen anything made before they were born necessarily. Maybe they go to the movies like twice a summer, and so they've only seen The Dark Knight and Shawshank Redemption, a couple of things.
And that's fair, but I feel like if you're on the internet enough and you're on IMDb enough to be constantly rating things, then you've kind of put yourself out there as at least knowing a bit about movies.
But Leon, everybody deserves to know what I think, because what I think is the most intense thing that I've ever experienced, and therefore it must be the same intensity for everybody else. So I am obliged to press this 6-star button, because I did not think that trailer of Casablanca that I saw was that good at all.
Oh. Look, I'll say this before I get into the list. I love a lot of stupid movies. And I sort of acknowledge that they're stupid, but I don't think they're bad movies, exactly. Because if I've enjoyed it, then maybe there's something in there. I mean, I hate it's hard calling movies objectively bad. I sort of believe in the subjectivity of art, and movies are art. But some of these picks are questionable, and I'm going to go down this list real quick at just a few. Inception, which was a really good movie that I liked a lot, is the number 13 movie of all time. So in the millions of movies that have ever been released. Yeah.
Leon, quick interjection. I had a friend in college who would not watch movies that were more than a year old. If it wasn't, that was just his thing. If it wasn't new, he didn't care. To him, that was what mattered, was the newest movies. That was just his priorities. And it boggled my mind, but it's like, if that's what makes him happy, that's what makes him happy. Like, whatever,
Well, I can see that, if you if there's so many movies you have to watch, like if you're really intense about movies and you want to see what's new and fresh and you make new movies a priority, I understand that. But if you have like a really ironclad rule about checking out the back of a movie, and if it's been out for 366 days, you refuse to watch it, that strikes me as a little odd. But I could be wrong. Maybe there's a logic to it that I'm just not understanding.
It's just a thing, because you say, oh, Inception came out 2 years ago, like, how is that, better than Metropolis or, Gone with the Wind or something? And it's like, just most people haven't seen them. They're not going to either, Leon. I love
and how is it better than Gone with the Wind? Frankly, Austin, I don't give a damn.
And that's the flaw in these picks, that there is a very clear bias towards movies that happened from 1990 and later.
Towards movies that the people who voted have seen.
Right. I guess that's what I'm trying to say. There's movies that are older than that. Looking at the list, Godfather 1 and 2. I feel like a lot of people just picked that because they heard it was the greatest movie ever.
But it's so not.
And there's a couple more there. Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. But mostly we're looking at really new films. The Dark Knight, which is a good movie, is number 4.
It's the best superhero movie, hands down.
No, I don't even think it's that. But
it's definitely not the best top 10 movies.
No, it's one of the top 50 movies of its decade. But it's number 4. Like, we've decided collectively that this is number 4. I mean, again, this is all subjective, so I can't exactly fault people, like, in sort of a finger-waggy way, but it's just mind-boggling, some of these choices. And what I really wanted to talk about today, I mean, we can go up and down this list and talk for hours, but what I really want to talk about today is how or why we as a society, and everyone can be on the internet, so I guess this is all across the world, we've decided that the greatest movie of all time is The Shawshank Redemption. Now, here's the thing. Good movie. Really good movie. Fine acting. Morgan Freeman, says things. Morgan Freeman does 2 things really well. Act right in front of your face and narrate over things. And he does both in this movie. And I really want to ask you guys this, because in my head, here's why I think The Shawshank Redemption is number 1. And by the way, it's not. I mean, in reality, it's not the greatest movie of all time. It's a good movie. The Kurgan is in it. But that's it. But it's not the greatest movie of all time. It's a very straightforward story that deals with a few things, but it is not the all-encompassing story of humanity that people want to think it is. And is that it? Is The Shawshank Redemption the greatest movie of all time to people because it's a movie that's very watchable and you can sit down and enjoy it, but it's also a movie that's like super critically acclaimed? I mean, Citizen Kane, for example, people always say, oh, it's the greatest movie of all time. And I really like that movie. I can sit down and appreciate it and also enjoy it, but it's also a hard watch at times. It's a hard watch. And so people don't want to vote for that being number 1. And you can... So I feel like maybe that has something to do with how these are being listed, where it's...
Leon, do you know how many people in my entire life, apart from myself, have seen Citizen Kane that I haven't directly shown it to?
How many?
You.
Hey, what about me?
All right, Austin. I'm sorry, but...
Have you seen it, Austin?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think its reputation is more about how influential it was than how enjoyable it is to sit through. You know what I'm saying?
Right. And yet...
It's because if you're a film historian and you're making the list of the greatest films of all time, I think you take, like, legacy into account. But if you're, Joe Blow 65 on the IMDb forums... You're like, oh yeah, that one with Morgan Freeman. Yeah, that's a good one. Like, you know what I'm saying?
I understand that. It's just what confuses me is what is so special about this movie. I mean, if someone said The Dark Knight was placed number 1, I would say, oh, that's stupid. But I understand why people did that. I mean, it's a recent movie and everyone loved it. The Shawshank Redemption, only on IMDb is this considered one of the greatest movies of all time? I mean, when you look down this list, you see like The Godfather and Godfather Part 2. Yeah, people do bring that up when, like outside of IMDb, when talking about the greatest movies of all time. They talk about The Godfather and The Godfather Part 2. And, outside of IMDb, if you talk to like, I don't know, college age men that you say, which some of your favorite movies, they'll say, oh, like Pulp Fiction, man. By the way, I'm not making fun of people for liking Pulp Fiction. I like Pulp Fiction. But when people, when I get a bunch of dudes to ask, and they tell me what their favorite movies of all time is, they'll bring up Pulp Fiction or Fight Club. And Fight Club is on that list. So I kind of get that. I understand why it's there.
Fight Club is my favorite movie, for the record. I don't think it's the best. It's just my favorite.
And that's fine, and I accept that. And so I understand why things like Dark Knight and Pulp Fiction and Fight Club are right there on the list. I kind of understand why Star Wars Empire Strikes Back is number 12, even though how much I love Star Wars, I don't think they're the truly greatest movies of all time. They're just important and very well made. But I just, for the life of me, I don't understand what it is about Shawshank Redemption that we, as a planet, have decided it's number one, at least in terms of IMDb.
Can I go down a list here?
I would love to hear your thoughts about this and anything you have to say, because it's a head scratcher for me and has been for quite a while.
I think it has unisex appeal.
Okay.
Like as a presentation, because I obviously women are underrepresented in the movie,
yep.
But they kind of get around that by being like, oh hey, it's a prison with men, but then at the same time it's not about hard case criminals. So then you also have this whole concept of it being an underdog story, and everybody loves an underdog story.
Sure.
Everybody loves a story about the guy who's, got put into a horrible position, which also ties into the concept that it's also about a story about a man being vindicated and, dare I say, redeemed. It's right in the title. The casting is, like you said, you've got your Morgan Freeman narration, you've got Tim Robbins, playing your main character, who are like two of the gentlest men in Hollywood.
Yeah.
Which I feel ties back into the whole unisex appeal. And the bad guys are like easily bad guys. Like you can tell that the warden is selfish. You can tell that the head guard is a bit of a cruel jerk. But they don't have to explicitly show all these horrible, horrible things that they do to make them bad guys. It's easy to understand. It's laid out pretty plainly. It deals on really familiar themes. Like, it's a really easy to understand movie. And on top of all of that, it is actually made well.
It is. It's certainly a very well-made movie, and I acknowledge that, and I do think it's really good. And I think you've explained it better than I've heard.
Like, I think it's accessible. I think there's an accessibility to the Shawshank Redemption that just manages the most audience.
Let me say this. We're basically out of time. I just wanted to make one last thing on this and answer your question, Leon.
Yeah.
And it's really about democracy. The Shawshank Redemption is the number one movie on IMDb because in a democracy, you can get a bunch of people together. As let's say, for example, one time in American history where we all got together and we all just decided democratically that slavery was okay. That was a thing that happened, Leon. That's why Shawshank Redemption is number one on IMDb.
Okay, you heard it first. Shawshank Redemption equals slavery. Or
it's at least as good as slavery.
Okay.
I'm just pointing out that democracy is flawed. You get weird decisions from dumb people because we are imperfect animals, and I apologize for that.
Okay. One day we just have to go down this entire list and just talk about these movies. As someone, I guess looking down this list, one thing I will say about the IMDb list, from a personal level anyway, I have to go down pretty far to find a movie I genuinely dislike. Forrest Gump is number 14, and I genuinely despise that movie.
It seems like a good place to find recommendations, if nothing else.
Yeah, certainly that. This is such a long story to this list, so I'll leave it there. Guys, anything you want to say before I wrap this thing up? I have to cut some of my rantings from this episode.
Time is a relative concept. Glue is not.
The owls are not what they seem.
I appreciate that, Austin.
I still need to watch that show.